There are moments in life when you think you have heard every story and learned every lesson a man can teach. He thought he had a solid grasp on what a great leader looks like. But then he started digging into the life of Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, and his perspective shifted entirely. He realized very quickly, this man wasn't just leading a group of people. He was raising a whole world. And he emphasizes that these aren't fairy tales or legends. We are talking about events witnessed by entire towns, armies, and families. These are historical facts recorded with a clarity that is impossible to fake. This chapter sets the stage by acknowledging that, while history has seen many kings and rulers, the leadership of the Prophet was on a completely different level. It was divine, transformative, and unlike anything humanity has ever seen before or since. When we hear the word miracle today, our minds often go to Hollywood-style spectaculous explosions in the sky, thunder shaking the earth, or flashy displays of power. The miracles of Prophet Muhammad PBUH were not about theatrics. They were calm, steady, and controlled moments where the universe simply bent to the will of its creator. These weren't shows put on to entertain. They were quiet assertions of truth. Every time the supernatural touched the natural world around the Prophet, it happened exactly when people needed guidance, reassurance, or clarity. It wasn't about ego. It was about proving, without a shadow of a doubt, that he was sent by the one who created everything. Regular people, shepherds, warriors, mothers, and children saw these things and dropped everything they once believed because they knew no human could do this on their own. The miracles didn't just amaze the eyes, they settled the hearts. They brought peace and certainty in moments of chaos, proving that the power backing this man was the power of God himself. The story goes that the people of Mecca, the skeptics and enemies, challenged the Prophet. They said, if you are truly a prophet, show us a sign. In a situation where most men would get defensive, argue, or get angry, the Prophet remained perfectly calm. He didn't yell or debate. He simply pointed to the moon. And then the impossible happened. The moon, a celestial body no human can touch, let alone manipulate, split into two distinct halves. It was seen by the entire city, clear as day. If someone splits the moon in front of me, I'm not asking any more questions. I'm following them wherever they go. The most incredible part is that even his greatest enemies, the ones who hated his message, could not deny what their eyes saw. They had to admit they saw it, even if they tried to explain it away as magic. This moment wasn't just a display of power, it was undeniable proof that the laws of physics are subject to the command of God and his messenger. Imagine the setting. A scorching desert, the heat beating down, and an entire group of companions desperate for water. Thirst in the desert isn't just uncomfortable, it is deadly. In this moment of desperation, the Prophet Muhammad PBU had performed a miracle that saved lives. Narrations tell us that when they had no water left for drinking or ablution, the Prophet placed his hand in a small vessel. Suddenly, water began to flow from between his fingers like a fountain. It wasn't a vision seen by one person. There were dozens of grown men present. They drank from it, filled their containers, and watered their animals. Imagine being there, standing beside him, watching water pour from human flesh, something that defies all laws of nature. Yet, amidst this supernatural event, there was no panic. There was only peace. The companions looked at each other in awe, realizing they were in the presence of divine mercy. It showed that the Prophet was not just a spiritual guide, but a source of life and sustenance for those who followed him. The Prophet PBUH and his closest companion, Abu Bakr, were hiding in a cave, being hunted by enemies who wanted to kill them. These assassins were standing right outside the cave's entrance. It was a moment where fear and panic would be the natural human reaction. One look inside, and history would have been changed forever. But instead of a mighty army or a lightning bolt, God sent the most fragile of soldiers. A spider spun a web across the entrance, and a bird laid eggs there. When the soldiers saw the undisturbed web, they assumed no one could possibly be inside. He didn't say, "Wow, nature saved us." He told his companion with absolute conviction, "Do not grieve. Indeed, Allah is with us." This level of trust tawakkul is The real miracle. It teaches us that when you are on the path of truth, God can use the weakest thing in creation, a spider's web, to become an unbreakable shield against the strongest armies. He knows the feeling of stretching the pot so everyone gets a little, but in the presence of Prophet Muhammad the laws of scarcity were reversed. There are multiple accounts for a bowl of milk or a small amount of food, barely enough for 1 or 2 people, was brought to him. After he prayed over it, that small amount would feed an entire gathering until they were full. The bowl would remain as full as it was when they started. You cannot fake that kind of thing. People ate, they felt full, and they saw the evidence with their own eyes. The Prophet didn't start signing autographs or acting like a celebrity. He simply thanked God. He remained humble. In a world where everyone wants credit for the smallest things, here was a man breaking the laws of physics and immediately directing all praise to the Creator. It teaches us that true abundance comes not from hoarding, but from the blessings of God. This is perhaps the most touching story of all, one that unically softens the heart. In the early days, the Prophet PBUH used to lean against a palm tree trunk while delivering his sermons. When a pulpit was eventually built for him and he moved away from the trunk, the entire congregation heard a sound. It wasn't the wind, it was the sound of weeping. The tree trunk was crying like a child missing its mother, simply because it was no longer close to him. I have never seen nature respond to a human being with that kind of emotion, but the most beautiful part is the Prophet's response. He stopped his sermon, walked down, and embraced the wooden trunk, comforting it until it settled down. He treated a piece of wood with compassion. This miracle reveals the softness of his heart. It shows that his mercy wasn't just for humans. It extended to animals, trees, and all of creation. If a tree found comfort in his presence, what does that say about the safety and peace his soul offered to the world? In one night, the Prophet traveled from Mecca to Jerusalem, ascended through the heavens, met previous prophets, and witnessed realities no human has ever seen. When he returned and told the story, people mocked him, but his friend Abu Bakr immediately said, "It is true." When challenged to describe Jerusalem, a city he had never visited, the Prophet described it in perfect detail, silencing the critics. While the splitting of the moon, the flowing water, and the night journey are incredible, the greatest miracle was the Prophet's character. Despite having the power of the universe behind him, he lived simply. He mended his own clothes, played with children, respected women, and forgave his worst enemies. He walked the earth as a servant, not a king. His miracles were meant to prove his prophethood, but his humility proved he was the beloved of God. That combination of supreme power and absolute humility is the real evidence, and it is why, over 1400 years later, his message still transforms hearts across the globe.